Even though in modern DAW workstations and workflows, the tendency is to mix while you create the track and mix continuously, I still think it's a good idea to take the full track and then sit down for just mixing. And this comes into the discussion of groups. A group is simply taking, 15 tracks and putting it under one fader. It has its origins in the big SSLs and Neves and stuff, Harrisons, that giant boards that two guys couldn't control. So they created mixes, submixes, groups. And that's what we need to do here. But first, you'll notice that this track is going. And I've got various sections. And in every case, I'm a little bit overloaded here. Okay, so I'm going to go to the session view and correct this. So I can select one track and do Command A, and then Option drag any track with this bracket and bring them all into view this way. Okay, and what I want to do is bring the entire level down of every single thing. So I have every track selected, and I'm going to just take everything right down just like this. And you'll notice that this track had automation on it, and we can go see what that is. But what this does is create just all the same relationships, only lower. Because when you add groups, typically you add volume. Okay, and I happen to know that that existing automation was right here. I've got a clip that's a little bit louder, so I'm gonna just go ahead and say, yep, that's how I want it, because I've got this relationship is great, but this blue or this brown is too loud. Okay, so in the case of my drums, I have them all colored in blue, and I've worked very carefully on all the various arrangements. But let's go ahead and group one first. So I'm going to take these, I'm going to Option click all these, close them up, Shift click those blue tracks, which are my drums. Command G will group it, or I can also right click and say Group Tracks. Okay, now I can listen to all the drums by themselves. And in here, I've worked real hard on each component. A little bit of reverb on that. My kick drums, I've got some a Waves CLA2A. This thing is crushing, killing. Love this. I use it all the time. And so forth and so on. I've got on this track here some interesting things going on. And I've worked hard to create space within this track itself. Turn the master up a little bit. Okay, and if you take this off, okay, so I've already started to create depth and interest with the original components. Okay, so this is just a shaker, a snap actually, with some delay. Now, this brings up an interesting problem. So you might be in a situation where you solo a track with effects on it and you don't hear the effects. And the reason is this thing here called solo in place. So when I take it off, I don't hear the delay. So I want to hear effects that I've added to the track, so I make it sure that solo in place is there. Okay, and you can see that if I wanted to add reverb to that, two kinds of reverb, then I would hear that as well. Okay, solo in place. All right, so the problem with this drum group is that it's not cohesive, and a good mix is kind of like a great painting. There's depth, there's width, there's height. You can reach back all the way up to your armpit into it. There's distance, there's height, there's space, there's width. And a lesser painting looks flatter and more one-dimensional. Same with mixes. You've got to set up a sound stage and create cohesion and contour, all of it. I highly recommend a Mac Pro video tutorial by Greg Townley. This guy's a master, and I learned so much by just watching him. And also Olaf, he can do some amazing things with mixing. So what I suggest you do would be to go to the audio effects rack, and under mixing and mastering are several interesting mix groups. And I would try these on my drum bus and just listen to the differences. And then hot swap in and out of a bunch of them. Hear how it glues it together? And some of them obviously are not going to work. Okay, and as you go, you can adjust individual elements. This piece here has an effect on it. And I've taken the EQ and just lost all the bass on it. And I've got this hiss plugin on it. Maybe a little bit less of this. And then adjusting volumes as you go. And then testing it against the mix. Okay, and eventually on your group, you're going to come up with something that you like, and you might, add stuff into their group and take stuff away and just learn how stuff sounds. And then if you create something that you like or change something, you can rename it, Command R, and then add it, just drag it directly to your own library. I have my own audio racks effects area that I have under clips. I just go in my clips in the user library, new folder, audio effects. And the one that I like for this, at least the one I liked, earlier, was this drum gluer. Swap it in there. Okay, and you'll go through and group each area. I've got my basses grouped here. Work on panning and space, balance, all of it. Levels. All right, and there it is, creating a sense of balance and cohesion using mix groups and audio effects racks.